Dear students, today's class is Physiology of Gastrointestinal Motility. So, what is the importance of gastrointestinal system? The main activities of the gastrointestinal system are gastrointestinal motility and gastrointestinal secretions. So, why you should do these two functions or activities? The purpose of these activities is to for the food products to get broken down, mixed, and to get digested. So, what it requires for this is smooth muscles on the enteric nervous system. So here you see the food is passed along the oral cavity, okay, along the GIT tract, then into the GIT tract. So you have motility occurring in the mouth, in the esophagus, in the stomach, in the small intestine, and then in the large intestine, and finally the defecation. So this process is the motility. These are the types of motility that occurs in your GIT tract. So you have motor functions of the GIT. So they are the ingestion for mixing of the food, aiding in digestion, segmentation, propulsion and transport of ingested food through the tract, regulation of rate of emptying, defecation and a reservoir function. So enteric nervous system has an important role or the basic of these motilities which are occurring in the GIT system. So there are over 100 million neurons. They are sensory in nature, motor, and there are also interneurons. Not in detail we are dealing in this. In some other videos we will look into more detail of the enteric nervous system. So but we do got to know that the autonomic nervous system has a parasympathetic and sympathetic divisions which innervate the enteric nervous system, which is present in the mucosal and submucosal and myenteric plexus, and these are the ones which will regulate the intestinal functions. So innervation of the GIT includes the enteric nervous system, which is intrinsic innervation and the extrinsic innervation. Intrinsic innervation is the myenteric plexus and the Meesner's plexus, and extrinsic innervation is the sympathetic, parasympathetic and somatic innervation. So here we can see the brain controls through the autonomic nervous system the entire GIT functions, and this is the extrinsic nerve supply, the sympathetics and the parasympathetics. In the wall of the gut, you have the myenteric plexus and submucosal plexus, okay, which are the enteric nervous system. So these two integrate each other, and the functions of the GIT tract is regulated. Also, you have neurotransmitters and local hormones which cause an increase or decrease in the activity of your GIT. So you have the excitatory neurotransmitter acetylcholine and inhibitory neurotransmitter norepinephrine. The others will include your ATP, serotonin, dopamine, cholecystokinin, VIP, somatostatin, substance B, leuencephalin, metencephalin and bombsin. So we know the GIT has a motor activity. It does these functions to break the food particles into smaller ones and for them to get digested and to get absorbed. So for this to occur, you have the smooth muscles in the GIT. So the smooth muscle of the GIT is of single unit smooth muscle. Okay, so it performs different motor functions. They function as a syncytium and they are electrically connected to the gap junctions. So GIT smooth muscles we know they are unitary smooth muscles. They are single unit smooth muscles. They are called so because they function as a syncytium. They contract as a whole. This is because they can do it because of the gap junctions which they have between them. So here you can see the single unit smooth muscles with lot of gap junctions. Okay, so here you can see the intermediary junction or the gap junctions through which the electrical activity can pass immediately to the subsequent or adjacent smooth muscles, and they cause the contractions very easily. So here is a syncytium. So here in this picture you can see not only the muscles are connected to each other, but they are also connected to the other cells which are present in between the muscles, which are called as interstitial cells. As well as you have the varicosities of the neurons, which is also having gap junctions with these cells. So here you can see the smooth muscle structure. Here you can see the gap junctions. You can see the dense bodies here where the actin and the myosin are connected together. You can see a lot of mitochondria is there, and simple endoplasmic reticulum is also there. When we look into the smooth muscles, not all parts of your GIT tract is having the smooth muscles. Upper 1/3 of the esophagus and the esophageal sphincter have striated muscles. Other parts of the GIT has single unit smooth muscle or the visceral smooth muscle. They are arranged in bundles They are 5 millimeters in diameter, several 100 to 500 millimeters in length. They have large surface to volume ratio. So here gap junctions are very important because they constitute a low resistance ion channels through which the electrical impulses pass from one cell to another. So you have one more structure in the smooth muscles. This is called as caveolae. These are indentations in the membrane. They hold the extracellular fluid and calcium ions. This increases surface area for the calcium influx whenever there is a contraction. In the smooth muscles, there is no neuromuscular junctions. Varicosities are the ones which are present throughout the muscles and the neurotransmitters are released here. You can see here the axon of the postganglionic autonomic neuron, and these fibers have the varicosities. The varicosities are the ones which will pour out the neurotransmitters in the muscle. So they don't have exact neuromuscular junction. So these actin and myosin are the ones, they are the contractile filaments, and the dense bodies are present at the Z line. So apart from these actin and myosin filaments, what we have here is pacemakers. These are the cells which are present in between the walls of your GIT. So you have these cells are called as interstitial cells of Kagel. The purpose of them is they react spontaneously, or they produce impulses spontaneously. So this was introduced or found out or invented, discovered by the Spanish Nobel laureate physician and neurophysiologist Ramon y Cagel. So types of smooth muscles in the GIT, we know you have the circular smooth muscles and the longitudinal smooth muscles. So the contraction of the circular smooth muscles increases the length and decreases the radius, and the thin longitudinal thin muscles contraction causes shortening and increases the radius. So more gap junctions are there in the circular muscles and few gap junctions are there in the longitudinal muscles. So here you can see the longitudinal muscle contracts. You can see as it contracts, the length decreases and the radius increases. So there are the membrane potentials which are occurring in the smooth muscles of the GIT tract. So the electrical activity in the GIT tract, we can divide them and learn them into two headings. One is the slow waves and another one is the spike potentials. Okay. So now we will look into the resting membrane potential or the slow waves. Okay. Or the basic electrical rhythm we can call. The resting membrane potential of the GIT smooth muscle is minus 50 to minus 60 millivolts. Our average is minus 56 millivolts. But what is the difference between the resting membrane potential of smooth muscles of a smooth muscle of GIT from others is it has an undulating form of a resting membrane potential. That is a fluctuating oscillatory resting membrane potential, and this is called as a slow waves. So here you can see the electrical activity of the membrane potential increases, decreases, increases, decreases. This occurs at rest. Okay, and this is called as the slow waves, and this is a unique feature of this resting membrane potential. So whenever it gets stimulated, you can see the resting membrane potential overshoots the threshold potential and it causes your action potential. So that is regarding your resting membrane potential. Resting membrane potential is not the same, it is undulating. So what is the cause for this undulation? The cause is exactly not known, but maybe it is due to the generation and propagation by a class of pacemakers cells called as interstitial cells of Kagel. So these are the ones which produces the oscillations in the membrane potential of the smooth muscles. So they determine the rhythm of most of the gastrointestinal contractions. They produce slow waves of electrical activity of the GIT smooth muscles. So what are the factors that will affect the RMP of the smooth muscles or the slow waves of the smooth muscles? The factors that depolarize or increase activity is stretching of the smooth muscle, stimulation by the acetylcholine, stimulation by the parasympathetic nerves, and stimulation by your GIT hormones, local hormones. What will cause a hyperpolarization potential is epinephrine or norepinephrine and stimulation by your sympathetic nerves. So now we will go into what is basic electrical rhythm or the slow waves in other words. We will look into it under these headings. One is we will look into what is the definition, what are the parts of the GIT tract has this basic electrical rhythm, and what is the contribution to the interstitial cells of Kajal, what is the frequency and the rate of BER, amplitude, velocity and duration of BER, phases of BER, ionic basis of BER, and what is its relationship to the muscle contraction, and what is the effect of the neurotransmitters, hormones, and other factors that affect BER, and how it can be abolished, and what is the function. So now, what the definition? What is the basic electrical rhythm or the slow waves? These are the waves that are produced in the smooth muscles because of the undulating electrical activity. So it is the electrical waves which are present in the smooth muscles. They do not produce contraction. So GIT smooth muscle has spontaneous rhythmic fluctuations in the membrane potential and has rhythmic contractile myogenic tone, and this is called as basic electrical rhythm or gastric slow waves. It represents a wave of depolarization of smooth muscles proceeding from the circular smooth muscles of the fundus of the stomach to the pyloric sphincter of the pyloric sphincter. This is a voltage between minus 65 to minus millivolts. So this is a range. So it increases, decreases from minus 65 to minus 45, minus 65, minus 45. But it is not enough to reach the threshold potential, and it does not produce a contraction. So where are the parts of the GIT? They are present. They are present in all parts except in esophagus and proximal stomach. It is present as BER in some places. In some places, they trigger the action potential. They rarely cause muscle contraction. And after vagotomy or transection of the wall, BER becomes irregular and chaotic. So you can see here the slow wave or the basic electrical rhythm. It is sub-threshold, below the threshold potential. In some parts it remains as such, but in some part it can produce a spike potential or action potential, and it increases a contraction as such. So the cause for the BER is, as we read earlier, it could be the interstitial cells of Kajal. So it is initiated by the interstitial cells of Kajal. These are cells which is present in the walls of the GIT tract. So here you have the circular smooth muscles and longitudinal smooth muscles, okay, or the smooth muscles, and you have the interstitial cells there. So these are the ones which will generate the slow waves and transmit these impulses to the smooth muscles, and this causes undulating slow waves in your GIT tract smooth muscles. So how is this interstitial cells are there? They are the stellate mesenchymal pacemaker cells. They have smooth muscle-like features as well as fibroblast-like features. They send long multiple branches which and processes to the smooth muscles. They have these process forms the gap junctions. The gap junctions make easy way for the conduction of waves. They have a lot of mitochondria and sarcoplasmic reticulum, and this is one important one which causes the activity that is important for the activity that is occurring in your interstitial cells of Kajal. So here you can see the muscle fibers, and you can see the interstitial cells here. So there is a coupling between the interstitial cells and the muscle cells, and this is the one which transmits the impulse. This is the one that initiates the slow waves in your smooth muscles. So where are these interstitial cells located? They are present in the stomach and the small intestine. They are located near the fundus and the greater curvature of the stomach. They are present between the longitudinal muscles and the circular muscle layers. Outer circular muscle layer, it is near the myenteric plexus. In the colon, it is present in the submucosal border of the circular muscles. In the stomach and the small intestine, there is a descending gradient of pacemaker frequency. Pacemaker with the highest frequency dominates. So what does this say? So these cells are present in the stomach near the greater curvature. So here is the greater curvature. These are present near the greater curvature, and they are present between the longitudinal smooth muscles and the circular smooth muscles. Also, they may be present very near to the circular smooth muscles. Okay, so we will see what these are. So depending upon this, we have the types of the interstitial cells of Kajal. So which is present in the inside the muscle. This is called as intramuscular, which is present in the between the mucosal myenteric plexuses. This is called as myenteric cells. which can be present near the submucosal, and this is called as a submucosal cells, or it can be also septal cells, which is present very near to your circular smooth muscles. So here is the interstitial cells. You can see the longitudinal muscles here. You can see the longitudinal muscles here, you can see the circular muscles here, and you can see the interstitial cells present between the longitudinal muscles and the smooth muscles. They are also present near the circular smooth muscles. So how does this interstitial cells of Koch produce a BER? So the timing, there is a timing. It is said that there is a timing device located at the rhythmic neuromuscular places, and they initiate the pacemaker current via voltage independent conductance. So how is this possible? So there is some mechanisms which are happening there, which we do not know what is the exact cause for that. So it could be something happening inside the ICC, like cyclic changes in the energy production by mitochondria. They regulate the ion transport and produces a slow waves. It could be that. It could be a metabolic regulations which are occurring in the ICC can produce, or it can be the calcium which is released from the IC stores is a current which causes the slow waves, or it can be a pacemaker conductance in the plasma membrane. So most importantly, what we talk is this is the ICC cell, and the mitochondria here, oxidative metabolism, could be an important cause for the production of slow wave currents in the ICC. So this is an ICC cell. So what is the hypothesis? What is the mechanism that is suggested is the sarcoplasmic reticulum of the ICC release calcium, and this calcium is taken up into the mitochondria. Mitochondria takes up this because of the oxidative metabolism, which causes changes in the membrane electron transport, and this is the one which causes initiation of the current, slow waves. But what causes the transfer of the uptake of calcium and the release of calcium? This mechanism is unknown. So when there is a current, electrical current which are produced in the ICC, it may be due to the mitochondrial uptake of the calcium ions through IP3DH channels. Okay, this got to transfer to the smooth muscles. So this occurs because of the gap junctions, or it could be due to the physical narrow sockets or the pegs which lock the smooth muscles to each other under the interstitial cells. So this could be the current flow, or mechanism of flow of current from the interstitial cells to the muscles. So in the muscles, it causes a slow waves and an undulating membrane potential. So the function of the ICC is to generate the slow waves. So it is a pacemaker. It is an intrinsic activity which is not influenced by other factors, and this causes a slow waves. Other one is this ICC is also influenced by the enteric neurons as well as extrinsic neurons, and they can amplify the neuronal conductance. So this is very central to the GI motility and its regulation. So if the ICC is not functioning properly, you can have tachygastria. That is, there can be ectopics which can produce a tachygastria, increased motility. It can be a mixed tachybrady dysarrhythmia, or any motivated disorders like achalasia, GERD, GERD, gastroparesis, and so many other causes. That could be a cause for the cause for all these diseases could be an ICC disorders. So what are the phases of BER? So now we know there is an electrical activity in the smooth muscles of the GIT tract, and this is called as slow waves, and this does not produce a contraction, and that is an increasing from minus 45 to 65, again coming back to minus 45, increasing to minus 45. So you have a rising depolarizing phase, you have a plateau phase and a repolarizing phase, then returning to the membrane potential. So what could be the reason for this? So exact cause is not known. Maybe it is due to the calcium influx, it could be a sodium influx, or it could be also due to the activity of sodium potassium pump. So but here I will give you the basis for the slow waves. So you have these phases here, phase 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and again 0 comes back to 0. So phase 0 is a resting membrane potential, that is an outward potassium current. So this current increases and decreases, below threshold potential. So the phase 1 is due to the activation of voltage dependent calcium channels. Calcium influx occurs here, and you have a transient repolarization. This is because of the inactivation of the calcium channels, and you have activation of the potassium channels, voltage activated potassium channels, which goes out. The third phase is the plateau phase. What happens is that is a balance between the calcium influx and the potassium influx. Then the calcium influx stops and the potassium influx starts, and you have the fourth phase, which is the repolarization phase. Then it comes back to the normal level, the membrane potential level, resting membrane potential level. So again, the depolarization phase is due to the calcium influx, plateau phase is due to the calcium and the potassium influx, and the repolarization phase is due to the potassium influx. These channels are slower to open and to close. So what is the frequency or the rate of BER? So these potentials, okay, the slow waves, the undulations, this occur at a slow rate that we know. But there is a difference in the rate of production of these BER in different parts of your GIT. This frequency, but in different parts, is always same. It is not affected by the neurons or the hormones. If you look into the stomach, it is the smallest one. It is 3 to 4 cycles per minute. And into the duodenum, it is 12 cycles, jejunum 15, distal ileum 8, and colon 8. Again, it decreases to 9. In sigmoid, it is 16 cycles per minute. So you can see here in the stomach, it is 3 per minute. In small intestine, it is around 9 to 16 per minute, and in the colon again it becomes 9 or 8 per minute. So this remains always constant. So the frequency does not change. So but what about the amplitude or the height, and what about the velocity and the duration of BER? The amplitude of the BER is 5 to 15 millivolts, okay? So that is the slow wave BER, but this amplitude can be increased and it can cross the threshold potential, and it can cause an action potential. So this can be affected by the hormonal and the neuronal factors. So what is the rate of conduction of this BER? At what rate is this conducted? It is 1 to 10 meters per second in rates per second. In stomach, it is 1 centimeters per second in the body, and 3 to 4 centimeters in the antrum. So that is 1 to 10 centimeters per second. This is the rate of conduction of BER. The duration lasts for about 10 to 20 milliseconds. So it is a longer duration. It lasts for a longer time, and then it closes. So it goes for a long time, comes, goes down, long for a longer time, then comes, goes for a longer time. So this is how it occurs. So how BER produces a muscle contraction? Usually the slow waves does not produce a contraction. When it is superimposed by the spike potential, then it causes a contraction. So how a spike potential is produced? When the amplitude of the, so here you can see this is the amplitude, this is the BER, this is at the resting state. When it is stimulated by the external factors, okay, like neurons, neurotransmitters, excuse me, or the hormones, it produces a spike potential. It crosses the threshold potential and it causes spike potential. When the spike potentials are produced, it causes a mechanical contraction of your smooth muscles. So it depends. When the number of spikes are more, then the strength of contraction is more. So what is the effect of neurotransmitters and hormones on the BER and RMP? Normal RMP is minus 56 millivolts. We know it fluctuates between minus 45 and minus 65. There are factors that increase or decrease this baseline. It can shift upwards or downwards. So also the amplitude of the slow waves can increase or decrease the RMP. So when they increase, it triggers an action potential, and this causes excitation of the smooth muscles. It causes more influx of calcium ions, causing contraction. So the number of spikes determine the force of contraction or the strength of contraction. So what are the factors that will affect the BER, the amplitude of the BER, and causes an increase in the excitation of the muscles and causes a contraction? So it could be the sympathetics or the parasympathetics. Parasympathetics will excite and sympathetics will inhibit. Also the neurotransmitters. The excited neurotransmitter acetylcholine will increase. Epinephrine or norepinephrine will decrease the spike potentials. The hormones gastrin, cholecystokinin, pancreazymin, secreted motilin chemicals like histamine, nicotine, ions, calcium, barium, potassium, drugs like atropine, mechanical sludge or the temperature cold can affect the amplitude of your BER. How can we abolish BER? After vagotomy or transaction of the wall of the BER becomes irregular and chaotic. The function is to produce and coordinate peristaltic and other motor activities. So that is a function of BER. They got to produce in a mechanical contraction. Okay, so now we know the BER, when the amplitude increases above the threshold, it produces an action potential in your GIT smooth muscles, which causes a contraction of GIT smooth muscles. So what is the connection between the RMP or the slow waves and the action potential? So when the RMP goes above minus 40 millivolts, the spike potential occurs. It may be due to the calcium and sodium channels, and they are very slow to open. So duration of this action potential, so you can see the spike potential here. This is the spike potential produced over the slow waves, and you can see a spike potential here, and it lasts up to 20 milliseconds. This is more than your skeletal muscle contraction or action potential. The frequency is 1 to 10 per second, and the magnitude and the frequency of action potential can be affected by the extrinsic nerves, sympathetics and the parasympathetics. So what are the phases of the action potential? So you have a rising phase, it can be due to the entry of calcium and the sodium channels, and the repolarizing phase, which is due to the potassium efflux, and they are slow to open. The spike potential superimposed on the BER increases the muscle tension, causes calcium influx and potassium influx, and it is 1 to 10 per second frequency. It lasts for 10 to 20 milliseconds. More amplitude, more spikes, more powerful the contraction. This is what I want to insist you here. So action potential and the mechanical contraction. So we know when the action potential is produced, it produces a mechanical contraction. So slow waves with action potential causes a contraction. Slow waves without action potential do not produce contraction. Greater the frequency of AP, more intense the contraction. So this is a take-home message. So what about the magnitude and frequency of the AP? We knew what are the factors that affect your, I listed a lot of factors which will affect your slow waves or amplitude of the slow waves, in turn the action potentials. So like the slow waves which are affected by the nerves and the hormones and the ions and the temperature. Likewise, the spike potentials are also affected by the sympathetics, parasympathetics and the stretch, acetylcholine and all those ions and temperature. So what is the tone of the GIT smooth muscle? So action potentials causing contractions doesn't produce individual twitches, but they summate temporarily to produce smoothly increasing level of tension. In between the train of action potentials, it doesn't come back to zero level, so you have a resting tone. So what happens here? You can see here. So there is spikes here, which produces a muscle contraction, increasing the tension in the muscle. So these spikes, when they add up, they increase temporarily, they summate temporarily, and they produce an increase in the muscle tone. Even when they come back, they don't go back to the resting level, it produces a resting tone. When the adrenergic stimulation is there is a decreased tone of the muscle because there is a decrease in the frequency of the action potentials produced. So now the smooth muscle is contracted because of the action potentials produced in them. So the factors which cause that, we knew the ligands are there, the electrical factors are there, voltage, ionic conduction is there, hormones is there, and this is the coupling which is occurring between the smooth muscles and the nerves, or the factors which causes them to excite or to inhibit. The GIT smooth muscle coupling is an excitation contraction coupling of the smooth muscle cells. It depends upon the factors that causes excitation of the GIT smooth muscles, and it can be of electromechanical coupling, pharmacomechanical coupling, or mechanomechanical coupling. So what is electromechanical coupling? So whatever we talk, we knew that the factors are there, the stretch factors are there, the neurotransmitters are there, the local hormones are there, the extrinsic innervation is there, sympathetics, parasympathetics is there. When they come to the smooth muscles and they cause an excitation here. Okay, so there is a coupling between these factors and the smooth muscles. So this is the coupling which causes an excitation contraction in the smooth muscles. So what is these types? That is what we are going to see here. So we give a name to it. So one is electromechanical coupling. The depolarization causes opening of the calcium channels, and calcium influx causes contraction. Circular muscles are better in this aspect than the longitudinal muscles. Second one is pharmacomechanical coupling. There is a ligand which is going on binding, like a acetylcholine, like a norepinephrine, goes and binds to the smooth muscles, and this causes opening of the calcium channels, and calcium influx occurs causing contraction. Next one is a mechanical contraction, that is stretch of the muscles, which can cause stretch sensitive calcium channels to open up and calcium influx occurs, and this can cause contraction. So here you can see this is a smooth muscle membrane, and you can see there can be calcium influx from stone operated or voltage sensitive or the agonist acting on them, which can cause an excitation contraction coupling in the smooth muscles. And this actually causes the smooth muscle contractile mechanism, causing a contraction, actin and myosin interaction, and produces a mechanical contraction. So thanks for patient listening. Next section we will go into briefly about the mechanism of smooth muscle contraction and the types of contraction or the movements that is occurring in the GIT tract. Thank you.